Hey everybody, I'm back. It's later on. It's still the first day that I'm recording. I think that line in my head is gone. I was wearing my hat all day, so before there was a line. Anyways, I'll leave it on. Make it look a little bit crazier. Listen. So I wanted to tell you the whole story, so I wrote out a little outline so I make sure that nobody out there thinks that I'm, you know, saying that my parents killed my brother just to be melodramatic. Um, okay, it starts off from my perspective. I'm but 2 or 3 years old, maybe 4, but very young, very young. And I'm in the garage with my grandfather on my mother's side. Not that that really matters, but actually, I guess it does because he's telling me, I'm worried about you. And I hear that, of course, as a little tyke. I probably asked him, what? What is it? He said, I'm worried about your father. He goes, I don't like him. I don't trust him. Well, actually, he started off saying, I'm worried about my daughter. But then he goes, I don't trust who he's marrying, or I don't trust your father. And he goes, and I'm worried about you too. So that's what it was. He started off with my mother. And at the end, he said, and I'm worried about you too. And, man, he had good right to be because I think my mother could have been a lot more sane, although I don't think she came from sanity. And when you hear what her background was, you may agree. But my father really has no empathy at all, and I maintain that he is, from my perspective, psychopathic in the sense that he cannot empathize with another human being. He said so many things to me that indicate that, and his actions. I mean, he lost tons of my mother's inheritance. Never apologized. Arrogant. So what? He destroyed us all, if you ask me. So my grandfather was right. As soon as I moved with my parents away from that grandfather, the rules were set. And this was the script to be. My brother, who was 2.5 years older than I was the golden child by default. He was going to be a doctor. That's what my parents decided. And I was going to be a salesman. I was going to sell for my father, who's in the seafood business. And he sells a lot of shrimp. So, in fact, now he sells lobster, but shrimp was his big, obviously it's a main product in the seafood industry. So it's a little bit of Forrest Gump in my life because I heard shrimp, sell shrimp, sell lobster. I mean, I had no interest. I'd like to eat it, but I have no interest in making it my life. I'm a programmer. I have been since I'm 13. I better keep it down here. So, well, I'm already 3 minutes. So my father decides, now that I'm away from the father, we moved to a new place. I'm about 6 years old. I'm going to be a salesman. He's got to toughen me up, right? Because I'm 6 years old and I'm outside playing with my friends on my bike. And, I play the keyboard inside. My grandfather brought over a little electric organ. That's not tough enough. My dad's a jock, right? He's a psychopath who chases a puck or chases a ball like a dog, right? Not to insult athletics, but you know where I'm getting at. It's not really cerebral for a young child who's trying to develop his mind. It's probably not a great idea. I don't know. I wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't push sports on my child. I'd push more interesting things than that. Although sports is not bad, I'm not against them, but what my father did was he basically dragged me off to the hockey arena every Saturday and every Sunday, starting from about 6 years old, for like 4 hours. And I would be on the ice chasing up. I had no interest. Most of the people on the ice, most of the other kids were not English speaking, and they really loved hockey. They wanted to be there, right? Their parents were reacting to the child. It wasn't my father drags me there, and since I'm crying and I don't want to go as of the second time, he's smashing me and kicking my legs all the way to the arena. I'm this big, I think I was 42 pounds, and He's 200 and something pounds, a big guy. And he says, when I get to the arena, I'm going to stop hitting you. And you'll stop crying, and then we'll go in. So that was his plan, you see, to make me cry it out. So we got there. Well, it worked. Of course, he stopped hitting me. I shut up. I was goddamn scared he'd start again. Who knows what the maniac's going to do. Play on the ice. Of course, I'm not happy. I'm not just happy because I don't want to be there. I'm not happy because my father's making fun of me with his friends or whoever he can impress, right? He's looking for narcissistic supply, as I know now. So he's using me to get kicks. And I'm already feeling crappy. He never explained me how to play hockey. He just let me go on the ice. The other kids were into the game. It was humiliating, to say the least. When I get home, after he hit me the first time, I tell my mother, Daddy hit me, he was going there. My mother looks down and she says, your father would never do that to you. He would never hit you. It must have been your imagination. Your father loves you. At that point, I lost it. I started to scream because I realized all of a sudden I'm amongst enemies. I have a temper tantrum, the first of many in my childhood, because I didn't know where to go with my emotions. Who do I turn to? But my mother's telling me that I wasn't just beaten up. My legs are killing me. I have bruises. And that means it's not going to end, right? I'm not getting relief from this. So I go up to my bedroom, and I'm crying up there. I don't think I'm crying. I think I actually dissociated. What I've learned over the past year and a half or so is a lot. But one of the things is that I dissociate when when something really stressful happens. And I don't know where I went up there, but I was in a different state of mind. My parents are calling me a few hours later or whatever it was. Come down for dinner, come down for dinner. And I'm yelling, I'm not coming down. I don't want to eat. Of course I didn't want to eat. I had no appetite. I was amongst enemies. It was like eating amongst crocodiles. My father starts to make fun of me again. He goes, oh, he's on his first hunger strike. So I don't come down. They send my brother up to get me. Not my mother, not my father. Neither of them had the decency to go up and apologize for what just happened, that my dad's beating me up to play hockey, and that my mother is saying it's my imagination. My brother tries to get me down. I don't want to go down, but of course, then he tells me that my father does the same thing to him on the ice. I always thought my brother loved hockey. No, he tells me then. My brother had been playing already for a year and a half. He was 2 years older than me. So he tells me no, that my father yells, you suck, to his own son, who doesn't want to play hockey also originally. So my father's a complete son of a bitch, abusive, disgusting maggot who thrives off humiliating his own children. Anyhow, so that's our upbringing. When my brother made me laugh by telling me about you suck, then I went down. And from that point on, my brother was the golden child and had a sense of humor, was always able to make people laugh, and ultimately became a stand-up comedian. And I, of course, was the black sheep, who was always trouble that the older brother had to look out after. Which wasn't true. It was only as a result of my father fucking beating me up because I didn't want to play hockey. At the end of the day, I was the computer programmer. My brother was the stand-up comedian. So from the outside perspective, who's the more responsible? The whole thing is just ludicrous. That's my childhood up to a point. I want to just make sure I'm on track. Okay, so my brother was going to be a doctor. They decided he was going to be a doctor because he was going to take care of them when they're older. And I was going to be a salesman for my father, because then when my father wants to retire with my mother, I can continue making money for them. So from the earliest days, when the ground rules were set, they decided we were going to do things to help them. It had nothing to do with who we were, and it never changed. My brother was a comedian for 25 years. My mother still regretted that he wasn't a doctor. 2 days ago, I've been programming since I'm 13. I've had a senior programming job. 2 days ago, my mother's still saying, well, your father might have something for you. I mean, my father's business is a complete flatliner. He's a psychopath. No one likes him. He can't relate to people. So how could he grow a business that's based on importation? Today he it's a business of 20 years ago. He's a one-man show. He's never had anybody work for him for more than a year. He can't. He's a miserable character. My grandfather was right. That's really what it boils down to. One of the earliest memories I have is my grandfather saying my father is no good and he's no good. But neither is my mom, let me tell you. So those are the ground rules set. Now, my brother did go into medical school. No, he went all the way up to medical school. He did everything my parents asked. He was the golden child, right? And at some point, maybe he saw that I was having a great time because he's studying and he's dating a religious woman and he's all going weird on me. I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm the black sheep. I have a girlfriend who's not from our religion, and she's sexy, and I'm tripping out on everything you can find that you can. I'm really into psychedelics, hallucinogens, and anything mind exploration. I consider myself a psychonaut. Between. We'll get to that another time, but I'm having a good time, and he's not. And in the 20s, in our 20s, somewhere along the line, he doesn't get in, or he decides forget it, and he drops it. And he decides to become a stand-up comedian. That's what he was the rest of his life, as well as a comic book collector, because he was always into comic books. I think that was his escape, just like the computer was mine, to get away from our parents. We had things we can focus on. So my mother discarded him, of course, right? Because she wanted the doctor. Even though there's no doctor in our bloodline, we have doctors on my dad's side that married in. But it's just not in our bloodline. And my brother didn't care about saving the world or healing people. It just wasn't in his nature. It's much more in my nature to be a healer or to care about anything, to care about humanity or people's state of mind, and to be very empathetic. My brother was empathetic. He wasn't, total, he was a good guy, but nothing like myself. And he just wasn't a doctor. I mean, it takes a real commitment that neither him nor I really, were made for, wanted. We liked having a good time. We're very, we like to be liked. I don't know what to say. We like to have fun. And the doctor it's not a lot of fun for a lot of years. And even when you're when you're a doctor, you have to watch yourself. There's all kinds of professional conduct, and it's not us. Our parents didn't see that. They don't know who we are. My mother's never seen anything I've done on the computer. I developed craziest, wildest applications, mobile, online. I mean, I can do anything. I've been doing it for ages. From before the internet, I was programming, like online stuff, BBS as they called it. I was arrested at 13 for being a hacker, a computer hacker. My parents don't know anything. They think I should be a salesman of shrimp. To this day, they've undermined me. Anyways, enough about me. My brother, he gets discarded. He then becomes a comedian. He meets a great girl. Okay, when I say he's discarded, I mean his life is. My brother was more sensitive than I was. Of course, the golden child, right? So when he wasn't a doctor, my parents no longer, especially my mother, not my father, he was cool with it. My mother really, started to treat him terribly and talk bad, and she kept pushing him. How come you don't be a doctor again? How come you don't go? She pushed him to the very end. He told me every conversation she would bring it up. 25 years. He's already in his 40s, and she's saying, maybe he can go back to be a doctor. Isn't there some way? But he's enjoying his life. He likes to be a comedian. He's making money. He's thriving. He's fine. He has girlfriends. He ended up getting married. And she's going on with a doctor. It killed him. That was one of the things that really hurt him, because when your father's a dickhead, you kind of like, as a man, you say, my father's an asshole. But when your mother really treats you like that, I think it hurt him a lot more than, I know it did, because it hurts me now. Now that my mother turned on me when he's gone, I realized, whoa, when it's a mother, you really take it to heart. You're like, I came out of you, and you treat me like I came out of your ass. Especially because she always said, she would be there. Anyways, look, my brother meets a girl. He moves to another city to follow his comedian dreams. He's doing very well in comedy. Oh, I have to get off because it's only 15 minutes. I'm going to take it off for my brother moves to another city, and we're going to conclude this.